Alright, welcome back to Autodesk Maya 2017. In this tutorial we're going to go over some of these controls up here at the top and just a basic introduction of the custom shelves here. We'll actually create a custom shelf in our next tutorial, but I want to explain a few things about the shelves here. First thing I want to go over some of the features right up here. At the very top is all the controls, and each one has a drop-down menu. But along here, next to the modeling, we have some other options. So here we have selection options, which are basically the same ones here, which we're going to go over here. And then we have some file saving options here. Over here, these little magnetic sort of icons here, if you hover over them, down here in the bottom left, it'll kind of tell you what they are. But they're basically snap to grids, snap to curves, and snap to points. So these all have to do with snapping. When you're modeling, you basically can snap to a point or to a curve or to a grid. So those you can obviously use just by clicking on it, making it active. It's very easy to use. And then we have over here some rendering settings for rendering out individual images. And then any of these little icons with the green bars, they have basically new features. So there's a light editor, and there's a toggle pause viewpoint 2, and then there's this render setup window. So if you click on it, it'll basically open it up, and it's opening up on my other window here. But we'll get into these kind of features later on. But and then of course over here on the right we have our our basically standard shells, which are basically down here, the channel box, attribute editor, and so forth. So let's cover these guys here right in the middle. These guys are all highlighted blue. They're really quite important. And what they do is they allow you to basically isolate selection. And it's very important in Maya to do this. Right now, as you can see, I can click on geometry. I can click on these controls, which are actually curves. And I can select on bones here. I can even select IKs, which are basically inverse kinematics, or they call them IK handles. So that is this first icon here. So if I have all of these turned off, I can do that just by clicking them all off here, except for this first one here, and then click out. As I drag a marquee selection over it, the only thing it's going to grab are the IKs, the actual IK handles here. So if I turn that off and come over to the next one, this is for the joints, so joint objects, basically the bones. So if I select that, you can see it selects all bone geometry there. So if I turn that off, and the next one, this one has to do with curves. So now I'll be able to select any of these controls. So the important aspect of this is, say you want to animate this object, well, which is a T-Rex here. Well, sometimes it's hard if you're going to end up selecting other things like the bones or the geometry. And if you just want to grab the controls, and basically animate it, if you want to move the T-Rex, make it go up and down, or perhaps you want to move the foot forward, you have all those controls there, and it's pretty easy to do in this sort of manner here. So you can isolate just that one thing that you need to animate. Each of these, if you kind of right click on them, you'll see some options. This one has nerve curves, curves on surface, and paint effects. So I don't have paint effects in this scene, but you can isolate different things based upon the geometry that's there. The next one, which is this one here, if you right click, you have nerve surfaces, polygon surfaces, planes. So if I just want polygons, I can turn off the nerves. And so now if I select this geometry here, I have the T-Rex here, but I can't select this sphere here down here because it's a nerve surface. I can select the ground because that's a polygon type surface. So again, if I right click on here, turn nerve surfaces on, but turn polygon surfaces off, now I can select the sphere and I can't select the ground here. So just some different options to have here in terms of selecting. The next one has to do with deformations, if you have that. After that, it's dynamics, and then this rendering one, again, neither of those I have in the scene here, but if you had particles, this is what dynamics would do. And if you have any deformers for animation, you can use this one. The next one is the render objects, basically the camera or the lights in the scene. So these lights here, I can now select. So I can select this one and this one. Oops, I had geometry turn on too, so that's why the bottom ground selected. But now I can adjust those without, again, selecting anything else. So you'll get kind of used to these different things. The last one is just miscellaneous objects, which is something else we'll get into later on. But basically, I can turn all these on, and then you can select anything you want in the scene. But it allows you to select and minimize what you have there in the viewport. Another way to do this is through the show menu here. If you go to here, you can turn off objects and then turn them on. So if right now everything's on, but if I select none and then go to just polygons, all polygons will be shown. And then if I go to, let's see, lights, turn on lights. And then if I go to cameras, I can turn on the camera. Maybe I want nerves curves, so I can select objects, but I don't want the bones to be in the way, in terms of distraction. So that's why you have another way to isolate things doing this way. Sometimes I'll do it that way. Another way to do it is to select an object and then go show and then isolate select and view selected. So basically it's just that one object that is selected. Now this has to do with everything that's connected to it. That's why the curves are showing up here. You can still uncheck the nerves curves, and then now we just have this one polygon mesh here. To return everything back, just go to the show menu, isolate selected, and uncheck view selected. And then everything comes back once after I hit show all. And now everything, as you can see, we got the bones, the IKs, and everything. So that's basic overview of that. Then I just want to share these shelves here all basically allow us to do lots of different things, and there's some new ones here, the Biofrost, the Mesh, the motion graphics here, which is pretty exciting. Each of them are very easy to utilize just by clicking on them, and they're basically like tools and stuff up here, and we're going to go into how to create a custom shelf later on. But I did want to share just two things. One, right now we have all these shelves visible. If we click on this icon here, you can basically choose whichever one to focus on. So custom is the one it's a custom shelf that's we're going to learn how to do that next tutorial. But you can click on this little guy, and then you can uncheck shelf tabs. All of them will go away except for the custom shelf that I created, or I can bring them back. So you can just click on this little icon here, this little sort of gear widget, and then turn that on and off. In the next tutorial, we'll cover on how to edit these shelves. The one thing I wanted to share was if you add an object, you can just click on it and it will be in your scene here. So I have this cube here, for example, that I just added. But you can double click on any of the icons and basically bring up the options. So say with this one I want 7, I don't know, 8, and I want a different sort of height. Maybe I want 4, maybe 0.5 for the height or something like that. And then I click apply and then hit W, and then you'll see it here. So I bring it out. Let me scale it up so it's easier to see. But you can see how this mesh has all these divisions now, which is what's being related here. So if I click on this tool again, what you'll understand here is it will basically keep these same settings. So again, if I scale it up, you'll kind of see what it'll have there. It didn't do it that time. Usually it does keep the default settings. So let's delete these two. Let's try it again and see if it'll work. Usually it does remember the last one. If it doesn't, if it doesn't, then you can just leave the default. But if you ever want to reset your settings, go to Edit, go down to Reset Settings, and then you can close it out. So, all right. So that's an overview, main overview of sort of these ways of controlling viewing in your scene, how to control your selections, basically based upon what you're able to see through up here, these controls, and the show menu here. And then we kind of got a basic introduction to the shelves. Again, the next tutorial will cover a more in-depth tutorial on that. Until next time, see you soon. And at Autodesk, Maya, cheers.